Space does not care about you. It is cold and silent, and it goes on forever. To cross it, human beings would have to leave everything they loved behind, sealed inside a tiny metal can. This is the story of how we reached the moon and what it cost. It began with a promise that sounded impossible. A president stood before a frightened nation and said we would go to the moon, not because it was easy, but because it was hard. And then he was gone, and the burden fell to ordinary people to make it real. What they built was monstrous. The Saturn V stood 36 stories tall, packed with enough fuel to level a town. Strapped to its nose, 3 men would sit in a space smaller than a car, trusting their lives to a machine that had never carried anyone before. And the moon took its first lives before anyone even left the ground. In 1967, a fire swept through the Apollo 1 capsule during a test. 3 astronauts, Grissom, White, and Chaffee, were gone in seconds. For a moment, it seemed the dream might die with them. But they kept going. When the engines finally lit, it was the loudest sound humans had ever made. A controlled explosion, lifting these fragile bodies away from the only home our species had ever known, out into the dark. And then quiet. For 3 days they coasted toward the moon, watching the Earth shrink behind them. Everyone you have ever known, every person who has ever lived, collapsing into a single blue marble you could hide behind your thumb. Then came a loneliness no one had ever felt. While 2 men descended, one stayed behind, orbiting the far side of the moon alone. For 47 minutes of every orbit, the moon itself blocked all contact with Earth. No radio, no voices, the most isolated human being in all of history. Below, the landing was nearly a disaster. Alarms blared. The computer was overloaded. The chosen site was a field of boulders. With seconds of fuel remaining, a human hand took the controls and searched the gray desert for anywhere safe to set down. And then stillness. Contact light. The engine cut. 250,000 miles from home, against every odd, 2 human beings were standing on another world. A ladder, a careful step, and a single boot pressed into ancient gray dust that had never known rain or wind or life. One small step, and 4 billion years of silence broken. They looked up, and there it was. Not a globe in a textbook, but home hanging in a black sky, small enough to cover with a raised hand. No borders, no countries, just one fragile, shining world that held everyone. Back on Earth, in that single instant, the whole planet looked up together. Strangers wept in the streets. For one breath, divided and frightened humanity was simply, completely united by the sight of its own children, walking on the moon. They went out into the loneliest place there is, and they planted a flag for all of us. We did the impossible together and proved that no dark is too vast to cross. Keep looking up. Thanks for watching.